Welcome back everyone to my channel. I can't believe it's already March. It feels like just a couple days ago it was January 1st, new year, new beginnings, but now we're here in March. I'm ready to start planning for it and setting it up. I'm really excited for this month's bullet journal theme. It's definitely more on the minimalistic side of things. I went for a simpler theme this time. It's definitely more laid back than my February monthly bullet journal setup, which of course was my record player theme, as you may have seen, but this time going for lighter colors, and I think it goes really well with the month because March and April are the times when it's getting a little bit warmer, and I really think it all goes along well. So I'm really excited to show you guys my setup, so let's just get straight on into the video. Since I decided to do something more simple for this theme, I only took my Tombow dual brush pens and colored in between the pencil marks. I didn't outline anything or put much thought into it. I kind of just went for it. So I decided to go for a plant theme, and I chose to do this plant that kind of looks like lavender, and I used my light purple pen for this, and I just colored it in. This is kind of how it is for the entire setup. I only color it in, I don't outline it, and I think it looks better that way, and it's almost as if it doesn't have that limit. It's like the don't color inside the lines, color outside of the lines. For this theme, I don't even have lines. I just took two shades of purple. This shade of purple is a little bit darker, and I colored in these little bit more spiky leaves, and they're a little bit pointed on the edges. And then I also took a light green pen, colored in this little leaf branch, and I took the darker pen to color in the single leaves that are floating there. I think this color combination really goes along well. I was kind of thinking of doing something different, maybe yellows, but then I thought, you know, I really like my purples and greens, and they just go along so well. And then for an accent color, I chose this mustard yellow to do these little dots around the page. And I kind of imagine these as little pieces of pollen floating around, and it's really just to brighten up the page a little bit more and add more character to it, but I still kind of wanted a purpose for it, so I just thought it looked a little bit like pollen. I took my stamp set that I got off of Amazon and just stamped the word March onto the page with all capital letters. Since I wanted to spend as little as possible time on this spread, since there's a little bit less time in March for editing and filming, I thought the stamps actually looks really good but also saves time, and it all makes it look a little bit more simple, which I was going for. For the quote page, I did the exact same thing as the right page, colored in all the leaves in their certain colors, and then the quote in the middle says, "Begin each day with a grateful heart." So lately I've been having difficulty finding quotes that I want to write down, and there's nothing certain I am dealing with at the moment or something that really stands out to me. So I kind of just go on Pinterest and find quotes that I like or that kind of mean something to me. And this one, I actually got a little letter board where you put the plastic letters on the board in between the grooves, and I got that for my birthday, and I actually have this quote that on there, and I think it's such a good reminder almost to just start off every day positive instead of thinking something negative might happen or you're not looking forward to that one certain thing the next day. If you just start off the day positive, most likely the day will go well and you will probably enjoy it. So that's my thinking, is just to start off the day with an excitement for the day of what you might be doing, looking forward to something. It always helps. For my calendar page, I colored in each block or outlined each one. So here you can see the first one I colored in with my light purple color, and the next one I outlined with my dark green brush pen. And so on, I just randomly colored in some blocks and outlined others and kind of just switched the colors every so often. And I think this looks really cute. I saw this idea on Pinterest as well. This whole theme is Pinterest inspired, and you know, Pinterest is just a magical place. I don't really know how I would do this without it because I come up with ideas pretty easily, but Pinterest just helps so much. And whoever created Pinterest, I just want to say thank you because it helps so much. Around the page, I colored in more of the leaves and little flower things in their certain colors. I accidentally switched the colors of the little single leaf and the leaf branch. The leaf branch was supposed to be the light green and the single leaf the dark, but I just went along with it and it looks okay, so it doesn't really matter in the end. I wrote March in this thick bubble letter font and colored it in with the mustard yellow, and mostly that's just what I'm using as the accent color throughout the whole setup, and I think it just adds that bright pop to it, which I really liked. To mark the days, I used my stamps and just stamped on the first letter of Sunday through Saturday. Next, I took my Micron pen and wrote down the word notes in just my normal handwriting, all caps above the box outlined in green there, and below it I wrote YouTube growth tracker with the purple box. At the middle top of each box I wrote down the numbers of each day of the month. Onto my mood and habit tracker, I did something that I've done in the past. I think I did this for my September bullet journal setup. I did the mood tracker at the top half of both pages and the habit tracker at the bottom half of both pages. I really like this setup because it feels like it's a little bit more spread out and it almost feels like there's more space to work with, even though it's the same the other way around. But I really like this idea and wanted to do something a little bit different so that it's not repetitive every single month. So I outlined some of the leaves and branches for what I'm going to be coloring in. This is different than the rest of the page, and that's why it kind of looks a little bit odd almost, and it's just because it's not colored in yet. I'm assuming that's why it looks a little bit strange, but I know it'll look pretty once I fill it in with my certain moods corresponding to the days. In one of the lavender looking branches, I drew a little face inside each leaf and colored it in to show which mood is which color, and after that I took my mustard yellow pen and drew the little pollen pieces. I took my black Tombow pen and drew the center line, and then I started with my habit tracker page. I decided to do little circles to fill in for the habit tracker because it matches with the shape of the little pollen pieces I drew around the page. I wrote habit trackers on the bottom right of the page, and above it, since I had a lot of extra space, I drew a little outline of a box and wrote goals above it. And that's where I'm going to be writing some goals down specified towards probably some of the habits I'm trying to complete. So some of my habits include working out in the mornings, stretching, drinking more water, and also keeping my room tidy and keeping up with practicing my piano. I added more of the little pollen dots everywhere and also highlighted the words of my habits.
I did the same thing for my memory log and playlist page. I split the pages from top to bottom instead of left and right pages, and I just wrote memory log on the top left corner and drew some of the plants on the top there. And then I just wrote down the numbers 1 through 31 for each day to write down my favorite memories of that day, or what I did, something I enjoyed, or just something that stood out to me, maybe a funny moment with my friends or family. I like to note down little certain things, or just I log my day and say, today I went to this place, I did that, and I enjoyed this. It's really just something simple. It takes me not even a minute to do every day. I've been looking back on the past few years of what I've written down in my other memory trackers or logs, and it's just so cool to relive those memories and laugh at them because there's some funny moments in there that are just great to look back at. For my playlist page, I outlined the boxes for where the album covers are going to go and the song names. And then I also colored in some more little plants and leaves like I did in my previous pages. I colored in the word playlist with my mustard color pen and wrote down March in my Micron pen. And then also using that same Micron pen, I think this is the 01 thickness, and I just wrote down the song name and artist's name. Here are the little album covers I printed out, and some of these albums include Bright Side by the Lumineers, Justice by Justin Bieber, Wonder by Shawn Mendes, and Human by OneRepublic. So I have quite a variety of songs here, and I just cut these little album covers out and glued them onto the page. It's so cute to cut out a little album cover, and it's funny because I actually have the album, the LP for it, and seeing it big right next to my desk and then cutting out the little version of it is so fun for me. I always enjoy making my playlist pages. Now on to my last two pages. I did another quote page, and again, I always say this, I always say it's a quote page, even though this isn't necessarily a quote, but I just wrote down end each day by thanking him, and by him I mean Jesus, always thanking him for the day and always thinking about how blessed I am to have another day, and any day could be your last day, and thanking him for all the experiences we get to live out through the day. After I finished coloring all the leaves and branches, I colored in the big bubble letters in my mustard yellow Tombow Dual brush pen, and in between those I took my stamp set to stamp out the words each day by, and I think the stamps and this bubble letter font really go along well. The two different fonts just contrast with each other and look really nice. I also drew two lines underneath that quote, and I think it looks really pretty like that. It's almost as if it's sitting on top of those two lines, and I highlighted those in my mustard pen too. My last page, I started off again by coloring in more flowers and plants, and that was a lot of coloring in plants and flowers. I colored in so many of these, but it was so simple to do, and I feel like if you're just getting into bullet journaling, a theme like this is a really good option for you because it really takes almost no time to do, and they're not too hard to draw. It's not as detailed as my February bullet journal theme, and also some of my previous scrapbooking type themes, those are pretty easy too because I literally just rip the paper up and glue it on. It's not that hard, and like I said, this is the type of theme that's good for beginner bullet journalers that are just trying to get started. I wrote on to June, and as you guys know, I've wrote this down so many times in my bullet journal themes when I don't know what to write. Anyways, here's the flip through of my March bullet journal setup. I'm really happy about how this turned out, especially that I followed through with keeping it very simple and using the light colors and not outlining much except for my mood tracker and habit tracker, which makes sense because I'm going to be filling that in throughout the month, but I'm looking forward to how that's going to turn out. And then my playlist page, one of my favorite things because I added the little drop shadows to the little song album covers. And then the last two pages are really pretty as well. And I think the mustard yellow combination with the purple and green really makes everything contrast and makes the words pop out. So I'm really happy about how it looks and definitely good for beginners.
So that's going to do it for this video. I'm really happy about how this turned out, especially the more laid back, minimalistic, simple color theme and layout. And I'm really happy that it took me less amount of time just because I didn't outline things and put a lot of detail into it. Because like my last monthly setup video, it took me at least 2 to 3 hours to draw it all out, and especially just because it was way more detailed. This one took less time and I didn't have to stress about getting the video out in time, so I'm really happy about that, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So I will catch you guys in the next one. See ya.